Here we go. Shall we start right on time? We've got everyone else joining so promptly. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Jacqueline Gochoco from NoRedInk. I'm very excited to host you for this great webinar that we have planned on navigating AI-assisted writing instruction. Okay, so before we jump in, I just want to take a quick poll of everyone in our audience. So you should see that popping up on your end now. A few more seconds here. Oh, we got a great mix today. Okay. Give you guys 10 more seconds to respond. Perfect. All right. Awesome. I shared the results. Can you guys see that on your screen?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Great mix. We got like 40% district admin, 20% school admins. We got our teachers in the house and other. I'm assuming that's a...
Yeah, I'm curious if anybody put what other roles are joining, because we want to make sure that we've got a little bit of something for everybody.
Yeah.
Instructional coach, excellent. Tech coach,
Oh,
perfect.
love it. Okay, well, great mix today. Thank you so much for joining us. It's fantastic to see such a great turnout. Sounds like some of you are recovering from either watching a marathon or running a marathon over the weekend. Again, I'm Jacqueline. I'm NoRedInk's head of community engagement. And I know many of you are already part of the NoRedInk family. It's wonderful to have you with us. And for those of you who might not be as familiar with NoRedInk, let me just take a quick moment before we dive in to introduce you. NoRedInk is a company that is built by teachers for teachers. As of today, we're being used in 60% of schools across the country. Our platform is all about bringing life into writing for students from grades 3 to 12, while aligning perfectly with state and national standards. So the idea is to make writing instruction not just effective, but really engaging. We mix clear teaching with lots of practice and feedback, helping students to grow into confident, skilled writers. And for our teachers, we're all about giving you the tools to boost writing scores and make instruction as fair and effective as possible, with all of the data you need right at your fingertips. Of course, you've got to have that data. So if you're just getting to know us, a big welcome to you. And with that, we're excited to dive into today's session. And I am so excited to introduce you to our wonderful panelists here. We've got the Alfonso Mendoza and the Ansh Girdhar. So thank you guys for joining. I'm going to start with Fonz. And Fonz, I am straight up reading your bio because there are way too many accolades and certificates and everything for me to possibly try to memorize. I've got a very impressive friend here. So Alfonso Mendoza is an experienced instructional technologist and Google innovator with 15 years in the education sector based in South Texas. Specializing in K-12 education, he holds a master's in educational technology, a graduate certificate in e-learning, and a graduate certificate in technology leadership and education. Known for his servant leadership approach, Alfonso is constantly seeking ways to empower his learning community through the innovative use of technology. He is also the top 30 IT influencers of 2022 in EdTech magazine. He's got the cover of that magazine where this photo is taken from. Top 50 global EdTech influencers on augmented reality K-12 worth a follow. District instructional software specialist, and is the host and founder of MyEdTechLife, which is an awesome podcast webinar show. If you guys have not already tuned in or subscribed to that, what are you doing? It's just one of the best shows out there. I learn so much from it every single week. So, Fonz, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate the invite, and I'm looking forward to today's amazing conversation.
Love it. All right. And up next, we've got Ansh Girdhar. So Ansh is a powerhouse here at NoRedInk, driving force behind all things product. Ansh has a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science with a specialization in machine learning and natural language processing from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. At NoRedInk, he ensures that the needs of students, teachers, and administrators are met. And previously, Ansh applied his expertise in AI at a commercial real estate firm, developing a tool to extract investor preferences from broker conversations, enhancing operational efficiency and communication across the company. I've had the privilege of sitting in on a few of our AI talks with Ansh, and it's been really impressive to watch how you've just been driving this conversation forward. So thank you for letting me steal you from product today. We're very grateful for that.
Thanks, Jacqueline. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, you two, no cheating. Pop quiz. What was the last ChatGPT prompt you used?
Okay, for me, I'll go ahead and go first. I said act as my experienced SEO assistant and copyright assistant to create a prompt for one of my tweets for, promoting one of the shows and everything that'll be coming up. So that's usually what I use it for.
Love it.
That's awesome. I typically use it to summarize articles. So I used it this weekend to summarize something I was reading. It was really good.
Great. I'm not okay. No, I will say mine. It's embarrassing. I'm in an MFA creative writing program right now, and I was turning in this like very experimental piece of work, and so I dropped it in the whole piece into ChatGPT, and I was like, act as a reviewer for the New Yorker and give me a brutally honest review on this.
Love that.
Embarrassing. It's fine. We'll move on. Let's just move on. Okay, so here is our agenda today, what we're going to be discussing. Mindsets around AI-assisted instruction and ways of changing those mindsets. Ethical consideration and biases. Obviously, AI is not perfect. We want to address all of these things that you should be considering. Practical implementations and strategies. The bread and butter for today, we want to make sure you're all heading back to your districts with some really clear takeaways, things that you can bring to your teachers, down to specific prompts and some toolkits that you'll be able to download. And then I'll have you guys just look into your crystal balls and tell me the future of AI-assisted writing instruction. So this is the only time I'm going to prompt it. Go ahead and use the chat right here and drop in what you're hoping to learn today. Well, we might not get to everything today. Feel free to also put questions in that Q&A throughout the webinar. And then afterwards, Fonz and Ansh are going to stay on with me, and we will answer those questions, and I'll send it out with in a follow-up email. And in that follow-up, I know I've gotten a few emails asking about this webinar being recorded. Yes, it is being recorded, and we will send that out as well. So definitely encourage you all to be interactive and chat away in there. Okay, my last surprise for today, we've got our third panelist, which is none other than ChatGPT. So we're talking about ChatGPT so much, I figured we'd give our little robot buddy a seat at the table today. It's going to be helping us out with some of these questions we'll be asking. All right, we've made it to our first section here. So changing mindsets around AI-assisted instruction. So what is the current mindset around AI-assisted instruction? I asked ChatGPT about this over the weekend, so post the updates that happened early November. And here's what it said. It gave us this nice little overview here. I asked him to give me its panelist response, which was saying that educators are both enthusiastic and cautious when it comes to AI. They're excited about the potential of AI for offering personalized learning experiences and saving educators time. But they've voiced concerns about whether AI can truly understand and provide the deep, nuanced feedback that is so critical in developing a student's writing ability. There's also a worry that students might lean too heavily on AI. And of course, there's a question that looms large. What will the impact of AI be on the traditional roles of teachers and the nature of student learning? Everyone in the audience right now, feel free to chat in whether you feel like this is accurate or off. And Fonz, now I'm going to pass it to you to talk us through what PowerSchool's 2023 Education Focus Report found.
Absolutely. So this is what we're seeing in PowerSchool's focus report. And of course, this is over 1,700 responses. And as you can see here, the sense of personalized learning, actionable data, and AI is what holds most promise. So for teachers and educators, district leaders, we all know that data drives decisions. So one of the main things that we always look for in a tool, whether before just how AI came, right up in our faces and became more seen than just, in the background through our algorithms and all our apps. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for those clear decisions to be made through the data that we glean. So that's something that's very important. And also for teachers in the classroom to personalize the level of learning a little bit more, because one teacher for 27 or 32 or 33 students can be very difficult. Also, we see that there is 53% of our district leaders that do agree with what it is that we're seeing, and the value add to not only our day-to-day workflow, but also into the classroom and enhancing learning experience has definitely grown. And as you can see here, compared to 44% at school level leaders, we see that district leaders do agree and are excited, but also, still cautious as to where AI can lead. But also, again, the student usage. And this all depends too, as well, from what district to another. Some districts may have shut down ChatGPT for student use, or some do have it available depending on their policies. But also some districts like myself, they have it available for teachers and many other districts. So again, we're definitely looking and focusing today on that district leader role and how AI can support you as a district leader, but also not only just giving you time back, but also enhancing the experience as you go down the line in leadership as well, obviously ending with what is best for our students in creating amazing learning experiences by helping teachers really facilitate that learning and engineer those learning experiences as well.
Very well said. And I'm curious for those of you in our audience, how you're all feeling about it. If you feel comfortable and would like to drop that in the chat too. Okay, now since we had started planning this webinar to today, there had been a huge release by OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. So I'm going to pass this to you, Ansh, who's going to be the best one to talk us through all of these updates, maybe the ones that are most relevant to our audience and what that all means.
Yeah, for sure. There's never been a boring moment in AI all year, and November was no exception. So yeah, ChatGPT is getting a lot of updates. The first one is the underlying AI is being enhanced, also known as the large language model, which powers ChatGPT. The underlying AI can now process like much larger pieces of text, understand the content of it better, and then also generate longer form content. The second thing they announced was that they're integrating images into the ChatGPT interface. So you don't have to, you can simply just upload an image or a PDF and ask questions about that. So we've now got a new modality, a new medium to interact with ChatGPT in. That's really exciting. And then combining those two experiences, we've got these things called custom GPTs. ChatGPT was a general purpose kind of interface, like you can talk about anything, and then it'll respond to the best of its ability. But now you can create these like specifically tailored GPTs. The one from the demo I really liked was how to train a puppy. You can upload a picture of your dog, be like, oh, why is my dog doing this? How can I make it do better or do something different? And then the custom GPT that they showed in the demo will tell you, okay, this is what your dog is doing and this is what you can do differently. And the last one, and this was kind of like a limitation we'd known about ChatGPT. If you asked it about something in recent history, it wouldn't have the context. Now it has the ability to, now it has the information up till April 2023. And OpenAI has made a promise to update it more frequently, so we don't have to worry about the knowledge context it has.
Awesome. And I know there's a big shakeup over the weekend with OpenAI.
Yeah, there was an attempted coup this weekend, and it's still playing out. We'll see how that one goes.
Great. And Fonz is going to walk us through a little bit later in this webinar, kind of specifics and how to use all this. But we wanted to acknowledge right away that there has been this big update, since I'm sure that's on people's mind. Okay, now, even with all of these updates, AI is not perfect. So there are ethical considerations and biases that your educators should be aware of in order to use this responsibly. I asked ChatGPT what educators should consider when using AI for instruction, and it gave me this nice overview, splitting it up in considerations, details, and action points for addressing each one of these items here. So including understanding the limits of AI, the importance of bias awareness. Again, the training data, there is bias within it. It's trained off of the world, which has bias in it. And there's data privacy concerns, teacher autonomy, which it described as AI should assist and not undermine or replace a teacher or their autonomy or experience. That there's ethical concerns in terms of accessibility and equity, and brings up the need to verify AI produced content. Of course, the need to double check anything that comes from the internet. AI is no exception. And Fonz, I know one of your many jobs at your district is speaking with educators about the use of AI. What suggestions do you have for other administrators tasked with similar challenge? Can you walk us through kind of what these conversations look like?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, I did a presentation last week also. Really, all things considered, there are some tips here that talk to you about data privacy and security, ensuring responsible use, ensuring equity and inclusion, promoting digital literacy. This is all great, and all, many people have great ideas. And this, again, is just really just a little outline of things to consider. Many of you have already been going through the news and, doing research on your own and seeing some of this. One of the things, though, that, like I was putting in the chat, is really we just got to kiss our AI, or kiss our tech. That's the acronym that I use. I just keep it simple and streamlined. If we can do that as an educator, as a district leader, I think that you will find that that might alleviate some of that anxiety, some of that tech burden. Obviously, there's so many tools that are out there, like we mentioned, and now with the capabilities that OpenAI has, and of course, a lot of the tools that are out there, a lot of teachers may feel overwhelmed. But it's important to consider, obviously, first and foremost, as a district leader, the data privacy and security. We need to make sure that we understand what it is that we should not be putting into these large language models, because keep in mind that it's training on this data, and anything that is out there that could be either something that could label a student, something that will give you out personal information, or some kind of indicator, we need to be very cautious about that. So we need to make sure that from the top tier down, we are rolling out that initiative and giving that information, because it could be very easy, like we use it to reply to emails, and then we're putting in information there that might be very private, or it might be dealing with students specifically. So we need to be very cautious about that and what it is that we're putting into our input, so we can get an output, because keep in mind that it will be using that data. Ensuring responsible use, again, going back to that, the data privacy, but also within our students. If you do have a campus that does have this available for your campus leaders, or actually your students as well, one of the things that we're always talking about is we need to make sure to talk to students and show them how to responsibly use this. It could be very easy, and with students, with anything, they kind of try things out in a very just they want to learn it, like in anything new, and then after a while it's like, oh, okay, so this is what it does. And then they understand the way that the tool works, and for many teachers as well. But we definitely need to give them that time to experiment, but experiment accordingly and cautiously, so they get comfortable with the tool as well. And again, developing your training policies, you definitely want to develop your policies for your district as well, and define what it is that you want to allow and not allow, and communicate that. clearly throughout your district so that everybody is on the same page. That's very important. Equity and inclusion also, we need to make sure that this instrument, these tools are available to all students. Many times that could be very difficult because although you may be a one-to-one district, there might be certain schools that may not have enough tech to support the student or student use in the learning process. So we need to make sure that as a district we have or we can ensure equity and inclusion for all students at all levels, not just, working from maybe, I don't know, just what would we consider like emergent bilinguals too as well, things of that, so students like that. We need to make sure that they all have access to equal learning and that everybody's included. And of course, the promoting digital literacy, very important. Digital citizenship, again, going back to what to put in, what not to put in, being very cautious with that. But again, opening a nice clear or creating a nice clear policy and working it all the way down to the teacher level, student level, that would definitely help you out tremendously.
Awesome. And I love one of the things that you said in there about leaving room for experimentation within this and sort of giving like permission for that.
Cautious experimentation.
Cautious experimentation. Thank you. Yes, important. Ansh, do you have anything that you'd like to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're discovering some limitations, just like adding more color to like what are the limitations of AI as we're currently working with this technology at NoRedInk. The big one is that it's important to understand that the AI is designed to respond with the most probable answer, but not designed to tell you it's not sure or does not know the answer. So that's really important to consider, especially when you're teaching kids using AI. There are ways to work around it, and we'll discuss that maybe in a little bit. But it's also like another thing. There's a limitation is because the AI is trained on the entire corpus of text available on the internet. If you're teaching a technical concept or asking it to evaluate students' response on a technical concept, it may not be the same definition or your idea of what the technical concept should be. So it's important to recognize that and maybe provide it context on like, this is the way we define it in our classroom, and that's how we're testing kids, because kids getting conflicting information from the AI is not like a desired outcome. So those are the two things I would also add to the list of considerations.
Awesome, guys. Super important. I'm learning so much right here. Okay. So let's get into kind of the meat of it here. So we have, we want to make sure everyone can walk away with these practical implementations and strategies. Ansh, can you explain what prompt engineering is, why it's important, and then talk us through some best practices when it comes to prompting AI?
Yeah, for sure. At a very high level, it's the art and science of talking to the AI. It's a little bit part art and part science, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But this is a really good definition, and for those just listening and not looking at the screen, I'll read this out. So prompt engineering is the process of carefully crafting questions or instructions to get the best possible response from an AI. So that is a really good definition that covers all of it, but kind of considerations for what parts are the art and what parts of the science. Let's talk about some of the best practices on how to practice that and while you're interacting with large language models. So the first one is that you would like to be as specific and detailed as possible. So give ChatGPT or whatever large language model you're interacting with the exact thing you're looking for: the subject, the tone, the format you wanted to respond in. So as much detail you can provide it. The second thing is to contextualize your prompt. As I was mentioning earlier, it's really important what is the context that you're operating within your classroom. And like, okay, what is exactly a claim and how do you define it in your classroom while writing? So you want to provide that context to ChatGPT to ensure it's aligned with what you would want it to respond as. And the next one is using clear communication. We all love creative writing, but this is not an avenue for it. You want to avoid being ambiguous as much as possible. So you want to give it clear instructions and just keep your language very straightforward. Another one is to arrange your prompts thoughtfully, which is essentially a way to say, You can ask the AI to do everything in one step, but if you build up the process, like just break down the problem into smaller steps as you would for your students, you'll get better results. And the last one is, and just applies to like generally everything that's new. It takes a few attempts to get to the desired output. So don't be afraid to like see how the AI is responding and refine the prompt that you're asking it to do.
I bet teachers are like going to get very good at prompting AI, considering that they already have to scaffold for their students. And it's sort of a similar approach when you're scaffolding for AI and, you know, asking these questions to help it iterate and refine that response. Awesome. Okay, and then our next part of this section, Fonz, I know you are an avid AI user. I've seen some of the things that you've been posting on your LinkedIn and discussing on your show. Can you talk us through some of the prompt examples that you've provided for us here and share some of the ways you've used ChatGPT? I know you've been building custom GPTs and all that good stuff.
Yes, absolutely. You know, one of my favorite things, and it kind of ties to what Ansh was talking about earlier, as far as the prompting and just how to take it in bite sizes. Oftentimes at the very beginning, it was just like create this huge, masterful prompt and then get an output. But you know, after a while, you learn that you know you just kind of give it some small little doses, and then you get some really nice content, and then you're able to put that back together. So one of the things, like I mentioned earlier, as an example, you know, for my podcast, you know, especially for creating show notes or YouTube descriptions and things of that sort, like my persona that I mentioned earlier, it's like I just have, you know, I need you to act as my outstanding SEO experience copywriter, and then I break it down for certain things. I ask it to be my podcast producer and things of that sort. But one of the things that I did one year that I started messing around with this is, and I shared this with my professors, and they actually invited me to come into one of my doctoral classes and show students how to go ahead and create their rubric and put it into GPT and be able to help yourself in in the writing process, not necessarily write your content, but improve your content as you take it step by step. So that's one of the things that it's very important that you do give it that persona, what it is that you want it to act like, and be very specific. I know that we had some teachers here, and I believe like Aaron mentioned here, he had a little framework that he uses as well, which is great. So you just got to kind of play around with the frameworks and see what works best for you. But one of the things that I love with the premium GPT version that you have available too is that you're able to simply take a rubric document, whether it's a PDF or a Word document, input that into GPT, and then be able to share either the writing or what it is that you want to work on. And then ChatGPT can analyze your content based on that specific rubric or specific set of instructions or specific data. Some of the things that I use it for too, as well, is when I just have to do something with Excel, and for example, just a teacher survey, tech survey that we do, and just to really break it down and just to have ChatGPT just clean that up for me and give a clear explanation is a wonderful way to use that. So you can upload, of course, that information. The ideation process for many of us as tech coaches, I know that there was a lot of tech coaches here, but really in any position, oftentimes we've got a lot of things that we have on our mind and things that we want to do that we'll write down as notes or bullet points. And for myself, it's very important for myself too to be able to jot down these ideas. But sometimes it's very hard for me to formulate just a nice, cohesive idea of what it is that I'm trying to say. So for myself in the ideation process, it just really helps me also as well, just really get my ideas together and really put them down in the best way possible so I can have a nice, clear, concise message at the end to share, obviously going back and retweaking to make sure that it does have my tone, my voice, and making any changes. Because like Ansh said earlier, it is a fancy word predictor. And what it is, it's just going to go ahead and put the things that fit best and make it sound best. And another thing, like Ansh mentioned, is that it's going to sound very confident in that first output that it gives you. And many times there's been some research that states that as people start using ChatGPT, the habits that we're forming, we need to be very cautious with that, because are we just going to rely on that very first output that it gives us and just say, I'm just going to copy and paste this and that'll be my email reply? So those are some things to consider. What habits are we forming as well as we use ChatGPT? And obviously interviews. One of the things that one of my teachers has done is not only do interviews with fictional characters, but what they'll do is, because the students aren't allowed to drive ChatGPT, but the teacher can, so she'll put it on the screen. And what I've loved is that they remake a lot of the fairy tales with endings, or they'll add different characters, or they'll change some things on characters. And that has been a hit with a lot of the elementary students, as this teacher drives and asks students to talk about creativity and theme and so on. So they'll ask, like, what if the theme was different? And then the kids will say, well, let's make it underwater. So now Little Red Riding Hood is no longer in the woods, but it's all underwater. And the outputs that it comes out with, and the students being able to get creative, has been something that has been amazing. So those are some of the ways, not only as myself, that I've been able to use it, but also ways that I see educators in my district to be able to use it as well to get creative. And again, enhance that learning experience. It's not replacing anything. It's maybe substituting a tool that can easily just change the story a little bit. But again, it no fear of replacing. It just kind of feels very streamlined, because again, I'm all about telling them, like, to kiss your AI. It's keep it simple and streamlined. So they just dabble with it slowly, and then they continue to build from there.
Kiss your AI. I love it. Do you have on a shirt yet?
Now, one of the things that I want to share here is the power of custom GPTs. Now, I've experimented with these on my own, but here's one that is available for creative writing. And so I just want to share with you here. What I did is I actually uploaded one of the pieces. I believe it was either one of my writings that I did on a blog. And then what I did is I just asked it here, can you give me feedback? Now, the reason that the prompt was so easy was because when you create a custom GPT, you are already feeding it a knowledge base. You're asking it how you wanted to reply specifically, and you can even input documents. So that becomes its own little knowledge base for it to use and to refer to. So as you can see here, in a matter of seconds, I am getting an output as far as what is good, some suggestions for improvement, and then an overall here of how the writing is. And so again, this is the power, and this is one of the releases that came out this just last week or the week before. And then of course we know what happened this weekend, but this is the power now, without any coding and without any instructions, that you can go in there and be very specific as far as your prompt on what specific outputs you need. But also what I loved about it, like I mentioned before, is that you can input your own knowledge base there to always have that ready at the go for you to use, to improvise, adapt, and overcome any of your learning experiences, whether it's giving feedback to a student writing process, or also for yourself as far as maybe replying to certain I don't know, not, it could be emails, or just having a response or a tool for you that is available to with your specifications to help streamline your workflow in the classroom.
Awesome. I have yet to play around with the custom GPTs, but
that's a great, I'm sorry, let me address a question that Don had. Yes, if you are using custom GPTs and you create a custom GPT, you have, this only works on the premium version, the $20 a month version. So that's the only drawback there. I mean, so again, you can create them, but in order for somebody else to use them, they also have to subscribe to that premium service.
great question. Okay. So for those of you watching, if you want to pull out your phones here, you can scan this QR code, which will take you to NoRedInk's ChatGPT toolkit. We can also send this in our follow-up email, but this one is ungated, so you can just download it without re-entering your email. So within this toolkit, you'll find classroom activities that incorporate ChatGPT, strategies for preventing and responding to AI misuse, tips for using ChatGPT to streamline time-consuming tasks, and ChatGPT pitfalls to acknowledge and account for. I'm just going to leave this up here for about 10 more seconds for you guys to scan and download. Okay. All right. Now let's go to that crystal ball section here. So like I said, going to have you both look into the future here for a second and help us think about what AI-assisted writing instruction may look like in the future. And Ansh, I'm going to ask you first here. So again, I got to sit in on some of the conversations, so I know there's a lot happening behind the scenes, and I know you guys I've been really impressed by how careful everyone's being about moving forward with AI and like all of the things that you guys are putting into place to make sure anything that's released is going to be really of the top quality that you can find. So could you talk us through a little bit about the future of AI at NoRedInk?
Yeah, for sure. We do think that AI can assist in each stage of writing, from discovery to pre-writing to drafting and revising. But we're thinking about all these stages, but starting off with empowering teachers with a grading assistant first. This grading assistant will suggest scores and feedback to the teachers for the student writing. And we're being very careful about ensuring that the quality of the scores and feedback is as close to what a teacher would want to provide to their student. And that takes a lot of time and care to like get it to that level. And so with this, we're hoping teachers will build trust in the AI so it can truly help reduce their workloads, that they don't have to worry about what the AI is saying, and they can like sort of like begin to build trust in it. And also to ensure like that we're being mindful of the considerations we discussed in our presentation today. We'll be slowly rolling out the grading assistant as a beta. And then through that beta, we'll gather feedback from teachers, iterate on it, and ensure that those concerns are addressed. And also to ensure that we do, in fact, meet our quality standards that we're setting for ourselves. So yeah, this will be the first foray for NoRedInk into AI. But there's certainly a lot on our minds, and we're hoping that this technology can make the lives of teachers better and these learning outcomes for students even better. So
awesome. It's exciting. And Fonz, what do you see as the future of AI in terms of writing instruction or in general with education?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this isn't anything that's new. I mean, for ourselves in our district, I think the shock was when now it was up in our faces, almost a year ago. And because many districts just never really thought about it, but we all have platforms that are out there that will help students close gaps. It'll give diagnostics. It'll put students on certain pathways, so that in some way there's an algorithm that's working there in the background to help the student succeed. Now, what switched is now we're seeing it, like I said, kind of like interface per se. And we're seeing a lot of great apps that are out there and a lot of great companies that are out there that are pushing this in education, and they're using it and doing it very well. My thing is I always caution teachers, we need to be very, very intentional in what we're using, because oftentimes what happens is we buy into the hype. We want to do the next tool, and because we see somebody on Twitter that's using it, now we want to do that. And then we jump from tool to tool, which also we got to think about it. We're jumping from tool to tool. How does that make our students feel in the end, where now they have to jump to another tool and a different platform because you want to kind of use the new flashy button that the previous tool already had? So the thing is that it's going to continue to grow, but as educators, we really need to take a pause and see what is going to be best for the student outcome. What is the overall objective? And do we already have something in place within our district or a tool that can measure that without us having to also cause anxiety in ourselves, cause that fear of missing out because another teacher's using it and I'm not, and now I want to use it. So we just really sometimes have to take a step back and consider those things. But there are a lot of great companies that are out there that are leveraging they're leveraging these large language models to enhance the learning experience. And I've seen it done very well by many companies. There's still some companies that, could do a little bit better, but there will be a lot of vast improvement on that. The thing is, again, just as teachers, take a deep breath, relax, don't get anxious, use what you feel most comfortable with and what is giving you the results that you need and what the district expectation is. And as long as you meet that, you're going to be fine with those tools. Then there'll be times to kind of roll out or try out what is out there and then slowly sprinkle it onto what you're already doing great. So again, that's why I always say just keep it simple and streamlined, and that way you don't overwhelm yourself or overburden yourself with too much tech, and also for your students as well.
It's all about that KISS AI.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, everyone. So with that, we have come to the end of our time together today. I know that there's lots of questions throughout the chat and Q&A. Again, if you did not get your question answered, or if you have one coming to mind right now, feel free to drop those in, and we will send out a follow-up email addressing as many of those as possible. I hope that you all are leaving this webinar feeling a little more empowered when it comes to the topic of AI, and are walking away with tools to empower your educators to use AI to assist their writing instruction in a responsible, productive, and helpful way. I want to give a huge thanks to our panelists, Fonz, Ansh. Thank you both so much for joining and sharing your incredible knowledge around AI. You all can see their contact information on here. Please be sure to give them a follow on socials, connect on LinkedIn, take down their info. Make sure to check out MyEdTechLife. It's such a great show. And everyone, enjoy this Thanksgiving and Native American Heritage Day with your families and friends this week. Take some much deserved time to reflect, rest, and rejuvenate. And we will see you all next time here at NoRedInk.